Welcome to the Empowering Women in Real Estate educational series. I am really excited to bring this to you. My name is Karen Cooper, and I am founder of Empowering Women in Real Estate. And if you are at all familiar with my style, you know that I am all about efficiency. I am all about systems because I have learned that having systems and having processes is really the key to being the most efficient and the most productive in your business. And one of the really critical foundational points to having a successful business. I've been in business for over 19 years. I have helped well over 700 families personally. I now run a very large team. And the key to that is your marketing plan. And so what I'm going to bring to you today is a very concise, very actionable plan to do your marketing plan made easy. This does not have to be complicated. Let's get started. Okay, here's how I want you to utilize this course. I want you first to know that the plan that I have for you in terms of, from watching this to actually completing the process of your marketing plan should really only take you about 60 to 90 minutes. That's my goal. Now, if you have never created a marketing plan before, it might take a little bit longer, so just be prepared for that. But 60 to 90 minutes is really what I feel like should be the right amount of time. You could break this down into a couple of different sessions, but honestly, I think the best thing to do is block your schedule, block 90 minutes just to be safe, to make sure that you can knock this out and get this done. The best way to get this completed is I want you to watch this entire video first. This is not going to be an exceptionally long video. I'm going to be walking you through the entire process, but I think it's really important first to watch the whole video first without stopping. Just watch the whole thing, but I want you to have pen and paper ready, and I want you to be jotting down notes. I'm going to be giving you some ideas as we go through. So start kind of jotting down some notes, or you might start thinking of some things for your marketing plan as I'm walking you through this process. So watch the whole thing. Now, once you've watched the whole thing in its entirety, I want you to go back and I want you to watch it again, but I want you to pause at each section or at each slide and work through the process. That way we can kind of do it together, and it's going to give you a chance to have the information top of mind and actually you kind of knock it out and get it done really efficiently. Keep in mind though, the first step, which I'm going to go over with you next, is probably going to take you the longest if you don't readily have your previous 12 months transaction data handy. So that's definitely something that you want to have handy. Again, that's why it's important to watch this whole video first, because then you're going to know what you need. So maybe if you don't have what you need readily available, before you go back and actually start to implement and start to execute this program, you can gather the data that you need. So it's going to be a lot more easily and a lot more efficient to get it done. Okay, makes sense? All right, get that notebook ready. Let's get started. Okay, the first thing that you need in order to have a really successful marketing plan is you need to design it with your audience in mind. It's really not going to be as effective for you if you were just kind of putting together something arbitrary that isn't going to speak to your audience, that isn't going to speak to where your clients are or be where they are. And so the first part of identifying your audience, or the first part of your marketing plan, is identifying who your audience is. And you're going to do that by identifying what the pillars are in your business. So what are the pillars of your business? If you have been in our group for a while, you know this is something that I've talked about a lot. And in fact, if you need some more information about how to identify your pillars, then what I would encourage you to do is, after you watch this entire video, before you go back and get started to actually work through the program, I want you to go and listen to episode 50 of Empowering Women in Real Estate, the podcast. I talk all about the pillars there. Hopefully you already have an idea, but if not, that is certainly a little tip to help you in executing this process. Your pillars are really your foundation. And I like to say it's really best to have no fewer than 3, because if your business is only coming from 1 or 2 sources, if something happens to that source, then you're going to have a lot more trouble with your business than if you have 3 or more. And you want to have no more than 5, because what I have found is that if you have too many pillars in your business or too many sources in your business that you're focused on, then you're not really focused on anything. You're kind of all over the place trying to make it happen. So focus on having 3 to 5 is really the goal. I think about what we're going through right now. At the time of this recording, we are in the middle of the coronavirus, the COVID-19 global pandemic. And if the foundation of your business, if you only had 1 or 2 pillars and one of those pillars was open houses, your business is probably really hurting right now. And that is why it's really important to have multiple pillars. Now, if you have been in business for a while, or if you have completed at least 10 transactions over the past 12 months, this should be pretty easy to identify. What you're going to do is you're just going to list out all of those transactions. Hopefully you already know this off the top of your head, but if not, just take a few minutes after you've watched this entire video as you're getting started, list out all of your transactions from the past 12 months, and then just jot down next to it specifically where did it come from. And I mean super specific. Was it from your geographic farm, from efforts that you did there? Was it from a past client who is now becoming a repeat client and working with you again? Was it a referral from someone who's in your database? Like, really kind of go through and write down what all of those sources were. And what's going to happen, what should happen, is you should start to see a couple of sources of your business where more business has come from than others. So maybe you had 3 or 4 transactions in this particular category, and maybe you had 2 or 3 in this particular category, and this one you only had 1. So that's kind of more of an anomaly. So that's what's going to help you to really identify and define what those pillars are in your business. Now, if you have not closed 10 or more transactions in the past 12 months, or if you're a new or newer agent, you can still go through this process, but look at it more from, where do you want your business to come from? What do you want to focus on? Where are the areas that you're going to put your emphasis? Honestly, I think one of them should always be your database. A database is really crucial and key to your business. That needs to be one. And then think about what you want your others to be. And honestly, really for anybody in business, it's okay to pivot at any point and to add and adjust categories. So if you find that a lot of business is coming from one particular area, but maybe it's not an area that you enjoy working in, maybe you want to try to pivot that into something else. That's okay. But you want to identify those pillars. You want to come up with 3 to 5. That's really the goal. Next step is I want you to create your framework. So the way my brain works, I like to work in, and I like to think in terms of systems, because when you have a system or a rhythm or a routine, it just makes everything so much easier. There is no need to constantly be, kind of recreating the wheel. Have a rhythm, have a template, have a framework for what your marketing is going to look like. So when it's time to work on this step, just do a little bit of brainstorming. You know who your audience is. Is it your database? Is it your geographic farm? Is it open houses? So you know what where your pillars are, you know who they are, you know who your audience is. So work up a framework for how you're going to connect with them, how you're going to reach out to them, and when you're going to reach out to them. So here's a few examples that come from my own client care program that I've used for many, many years. It's the same one that I use with my team. And so there's a couple of different things. We do a monthly email drawing because I know that a large percentage of my business does come from my database. I want to continue to cultivate that. And so a great way to do that, because these are people who are in my database, is to send them an email every month. I always like to lead with generosity. That is the way that I conduct myself in my business. It's not super salesy. It's always from a point of giving, because I know that when I give, I am going to receive. So I like to do a monthly email drawing. We also do a monthly mailer because, again, thinking about, this is my database. My database is also comprised of my past clients. It's also comprised of people who've given me a referral. And so a mailer to them makes a lot of sense. I like to do twice yearly contests. Those are fun things to do to help to keep our clients and our communities engaged with us, because the contests work really well with social media. And social media is one of the pillars of my business. I consistently over the years I am drawing and pulling more and more business from social media. And so what are some things that I can do beyond just the regular posts that can help me to really engage with my community and my followers on social media? So I have just some other options here. Think about seasonal pop buys. Maybe it's a newsletter. Maybe it's doing some kind of annual recognition, sending birthday cards, home anniversary, home anniversary cards. Social media. How often are you going to do your social media? For me personally, my plan is I like to do 3 business social media posts per week. Those are almost all concentrated on my business accounts. So my business Facebook account, my business Instagram. From time to time, I will share that also to my personal page, because certainly you're going to get a lot more traction on your personal page. But in my experience, if your personal page is nothing but business, then people are going to start to check out on that. So think about your framework. Think about what's going to make sense to you. This can feel a little bit overwhelming, especially if it's something that you've never done before. Please hear me on this. This is one of the most important parts when it comes to this. When you are putting together this template or this framework for what your marketing is going to look like, you need to have a mix of communication methods. You can't just expect to do postcards every single month and nothing else and get results. I have found consistently over the last 19 years, you have to have a mix of communication methods, because some are going to resonate with some people more than others. And then you can kind of get a little bit of play between them to really kind of increase your bang for your buck, which we'll talk about. So a tip that I will give you if you're really not sure where to start and you're kind of struggling with how to come up with this framework is I want you to start with targeting 2 connection points per month, and then kind of start to fill in from there. And here's the thing, the goal here, what we're going to be doing is ideally we are putting together your marketing plan for the whole year. That's something that I do. My business partner and I get together every year and we put together our plan for the entire year. It's also what I do for our Empower Coaching members, but that might be too overwhelming for you right now. Maybe you're going to start with just the first quarter, but start with 2 connection points per month. Is it an email and social media? Is it a mailer and a pop by? Like, start with 2, figure out what makes sense for you, and then you can kind of fill in a little bit more from there. The goal with your marketing plan, the marketing plan that we do, is about 25 to 30-ish touches per person per year. And that's kind of what we come up with. That's what we have found works. And so hopefully that's what you're going to be able to work with as well. Okay, so that is creating your framework. All right, now that you have created your framework, this is where the fun part comes in. Now you get to really curate each component of your framework. So this is the part where you're really going to be coming up with the ideas for each part of your marketing plan. Now, don't feel like you have to recreate each thing each month. So one of the things that I really like to do, again, thinking about efficiency and productivity, is I like to find some kind of commonality that gets tweaked each time. So I'm not having to recreate the whole thing. My kind of framework is maybe my postcard design, maybe kind of the framework of my postcard is similar, but I'm tweaking it just a little bit with the look or the design of it. For example, I mentioned already, we do these twice yearly client appreciation contests, which are really helpful for us, both in terms of connecting with our current database and our current clients, but also expanding that database and bringing more people into our fold. And so with those twice yearly client appreciation contests, we do one in the spring, we do one in the fall. The steps for it is exactly the same each time. We keep the same steps, we have the same processes, we have the same posting schedule, we do the same prizes for each one. It's just the theme of each contest changes. So we're not having to recreate the wheel, especially after you've done it once. It's so much faster to do it again. And that just kind of helps to keep things moving. So as you're starting to come up with these ideas, do it with this thought in mind. I also love Pinterest. Pinterest is a really great source for ideas. If you are struggling with what to say in your post, if you are struggling with topics for your postcards, go to Pinterest, Google real estate postcards, real estate mailers. There's another great website if you're thinking about pop buys. It's called popbyideas.com. It's by an agent who I think is out on the West Coast, and tons of ideas. So use those to kind of help to spark ideas for you. Now look, the point here is not to try to plan every single marketing piece, marketing postcard, every email, the word of every post. You're not going to do all of that right now. In time, you can get to that. That's something that we do. We have our postcards are all designed for the entire year. A lot of our stuff is done for the entire year. So really what we're doing on the fly is a lot of our social media only, which takes a lot of the pressure off. But when you're just getting started with this, that's going to be too much. So start small. Start with gathering up some ideas, planning out what you're going to do for this first 30 days, and getting really clear. The more clear you are on the framework, the more clear you are on what you're going to do, the easier this becomes. For example, if you're going to do an email every month, what is that email going to be? Is that email going to be a market update? Is that email going to be more of like a newsletter form? Is that email going to be something community related? Is your email going to be a drawing? That's something that we do. Figure out what it is that you're going to do, but you don't have to write all of the content around it right now. You can kind of do that as you go. We're going to talk more about that in a little bit. If you need some low cost marketing ideas, look, marketing does not have to be expensive. You do have to invest in your business, but there are ways to do this and to use your dollars most effectively. And so I have a whole podcast episode on Empowering Women in Real Estate, the podcast. It's episode number 46, and it is full of low-cost marketing ideas. So that, if you are struggling with ideas, that is definitely a place to go. Okay, next, you know who your audience is. You've put together your framework. You have curated the components. You know what you're going to be doing. Now you got to have an implementation plan, because, ideas are great and getting your marketing plan on paper is fantastic. But if you don't actually execute it, it's never going to help your business. The success is in establishing your implementation plan. So how are you going to do this? You need to map your marketing plan out on a calendar. You can buy an inexpensive monthly view calendar on Amazon, a kind of a paper one that you can write on. You can get the dry erase ones. You can just print out calendar sheets from the internet. There's so many different ways to do this, but plot it out. So for example, and here's where we get back into that system, which really helps things to go a lot more easily. If you know that you are going to plan to have your postcards mail every month on the 1st, you're going to have your emails go out on the 15th, your social media posts are going to be done on Tuesdays and Thursdays, then work backwards to identify the deadlines for those tasks. So if your mailer is going to go out on the 1st, then how much time is your printer going to need to prepare those and get them shipped out? We're going to talk about that step here in a second. And then how much time are you going to need realistically to write and create that postcard? So put that deadline on your calendar now. Work your way backwards so that you can make sure that you can actually get those things done, because here's what happens. We talk a lot about the real estate roller coaster. When you get busy, maybe right now you're not as busy in your business, and that's probably why you're wanting to focus on your marketing plan and you're focusing on your marketing and prospecting efforts. But when you get busy, if you don't have a plan, if you don't have an implementation plan, then the marketing starts to fall out the window because it's a lower priority than the clients who are right in front of you. But the problem is, if that's what happens, then once you're done with those clients that are right in front of you, then you're going to be right back to zero again. And keeping that momentum is really what makes a successful business flow so much more easily. So figure out what your implementation plan is going to be, map out your schedule on the calendar, and then back that up to figure out when the tasks are going to need to be due, and put those in now so that way you know what you're going to have to do and when. Okay, next you need to identify your marketing team. Now look, even if you are a one-woman band and you are having to do all of this by yourself, I don't mean a marketing team in terms of like a full-time assistant and full-time professionals. It's wonderful to have those things, but the reality is not everyone has that available to them, especially if you are newer in your business. But there are things you cannot do on your own. Chances are you cannot print the postcards yourself. I mean, I guess you probably could maybe print them and cut them and mail them, but my gosh, what a terrible use of your time. So think about, based on what you have identified for what you're going to be doing for your marketing plan, who are the professionals that you need? If you're going to be doing any kind of printed materials or any sort of postcards or mailers, then you're going to need a printer. So figure out who that's going to be. Is that going to be a local printing company in your area? Talk to some other realtors in your office and find out who they use. Is it going to be maybe your local Staples or Kinko's? Some of those places do those sorts of things. Is Kinko's even around anymore? I don't know. But identify who that's going to be. If you're going to be sending a monthly email, which service are you going to use to send it? So your CRM might be able to do it. My CRM does it for me. I use the Buffini Referral Maker CRM. But if your CRM does not have that capability, then what will you need? What kind of service will you find in order to do that? So you're going to have to figure out in order to the time to figure this out is not the day that you sit down to write the postcard and are ready to have it sent out for the beginning of the month. The time to figure this out is now when you're putting together your marketing plan, and then you're going to use those same resources again and again and again. And you're not making this plan to be perfect forever. We tweak things constantly, and you're going to need to tweak things as you go. But you have to get started with something, but you're going to learn, okay, you know what? I did not have a great experience with this vendor. I'm not going to use them next time. Or this vendor has been really great to work with. I wonder if there's other things that they can do to help me. So you'll figure out more of that as you go along, but you've got to figure out who that marketing team is going to be. When it comes to your graphics, a lot of the stuff that we do, if you're doing social media, your postcards, you need to have graphics. You need to have great visuals. So who's going to do that? It's going to be you. Are you going to do it yourself, or are you going to hire a graphics designer to do it for you? Fiverr can be a great resource for doing this. Just go online and there are people that you can hire for individual tasks who can get things done for you. That could be great. There's a lot of different services that you can subscribe to, where part of that service, that there's usually a monthly fee associated. Part of that service includes getting some graphics or some photos that you can use. So look for those sorts of things. There's websites like iStock Photos, I think, is what it's called. And you can go on there and you can purchase graphics. So figure out where you're going to get those graphics from. If it is going to be you, whether you're going to be designing or creating your own graphics, or maybe you're just going to be maybe tweaking or customizing things that you purchased from elsewhere, what program are you going to use for that? A little tip here is Canva. Canva is my very favorite. Even the free version, you don't have to have the professional version or the pro version of Canva. The free version is an amazing tool, and it's really going to help you to design your own graphics or to customize materials that you get from another source. So definitely want to look into that. Spend a little time getting proficient. It is not hard. It takes a little time to get yourself used to it, but you can pretty quickly get up to speed with that. And then consider part of your marketing team. You might want to consider hiring a professional copywriter to write your materials. I've been in business for 19 years. My team, we're going to our 6th year. And one of the things that we did for this year is we hired a professional copywriter, because we realized that while we're good at, we've been doing this for a long time at writing materials and having a call to action and doing all of these things, we're kind of tired of our own words, and we're finding that we're saying the same things sort of over and over again. And so we hired a copywriter to rewrite all of our materials for us. We also use a professional copywriter for all of our Empower coaching materials. And it's taking our words, what we want to say, and just giving it a really fresh take and a fresh spin, which has been huge for us this year. So we're very happy to do that. So that's something that you might want to consider. Maybe you don't want to have them write all of your materials, but maybe if you're going to do a newsletter, maybe you want to, maybe that's something that you might want to invest in. So figure out who your team is going to be. Identify that marketing team. If you're going to be doing pop buys, perhaps something that you might want to do is you might want to pay someone to help you to assemble them, or to assemble them for you, or to shop for the materials, or even pay someone to deliver them for you. These are all things that I have done and do. It is some of the best time that you will ever buy back for yourself. And so maybe could that be, if you have a teenager in your home who drives, that could be them. Or it could be a friend's, teenager who can help you with this. It could be a mom in your community who has a few extra hours during the week who would love to earn some extra income. So think about who your team is going to be and start to set that team up. And then here are some tips for you, some pro tips for kind of finalizing this process. So the one thing is, and I think a lot of people know a lot of people, because a lot of people have been me over the years, they don't have a budget. They don't have a budget for their marketing. It is really important that you map your plan out in a budget and that you stick to it, because you are going to be much more likely to prioritize your marketing plan when you have a grasp for the cost and that you understand the importance that that plays in the success of your business. Here's the thing: when businesses and markets shift, what a lot of agents do, and I've seen them make this mistake over the years many times, what many agents will do is they will start cutting their marketing expenses because marketing is expensive. But instead, what they need to be cutting is their daily Starbucks habit and keeping the marketing going, because the marketing is what's going to keep your business going. And when you don't have a feel for what it really is, then everything kind of seems expensive and everything seems maybe not as important. And so when you have your budget mapped out, it's going to make it so much easier for you to actually stick to it and to execute this plan. So I have a marketing budget template for you. This is just a very basic Excel spreadsheet. It's the same one that I use for my team and for Empower Coaching. I have cleared it out for you except for the formula. So it's going to be really easy for you to go in there and type in, it's in an Excel document. You can type in what you're going to do each month, how many of them you're going to send, what the cost per piece is, and it's going to automatically total up your budget for you. And so you can download that. It's a free download. It's at bit.ly, so bit.ly/EWRE budget template. That stands for Empowering Women in Real Estate Budget Template. So bit.ly/EWRE budget template, and you can download that template, put it on your computer, fill in the blanks, and you're going to have your budget ready to go. And then another tip for you is to build your social media posts around your marketing plan. So yes, a lot of my social media posts are really standalone. They're not related to another component of my marketing plan, but it is, you get like double impact, double emphasis. You get more bang for your buck when you can actually craft and build some of your social media posts around your marketing plan. So for example, things that we like to do when I am doing my seasonal newsletter that I'm sending out, I post it on social media. When I am doing my monthly email drawing from time to time, I will also post about it on social media to help to enlarge my database. There's so many different things that you can do that integrates your social media and your marketing plan for other components that you're doing that aren't necessarily social media related, that can help to beef up your social media presence and to help to, when you create something, don't think about you're going to create it and it's like a one-time use and it's like a one and done. You want to create things and keep in mind that you can repurpose that content over and over and over again in multiple different places, because people don't see things or pay attention to things quite as closely or as detailed as we think they do. Or perhaps when someone sees your post, or maybe, and I've had this happen, they'll get your postcard and it doesn't, they don't need it right now. Whatever it is that your topic was, it's not something that's important to them. So just kind of, they see it's you and then they throw it away. But then a couple weeks later, when you post about the same thing on social media, all of a sudden they're responding to you because now it's actually something that's top of mind and something that they need. So that's why you want to repeat some of your things. And then super, super important is you need to set aside time each week to execute this plan. Again, best laid plans aren't going to help you unless you actually execute them. So set aside some time. Realistically, about an hour-ish a week really is what it should take you, especially if you're doing everything yourself. If you have a well-crafted plan, spend the time now up front to get things as done and prepared and systematized as you possibly can, so that then each week you can sit down and you can have your marketing hour and you can figure out, okay, you know the deadlines because you've already backed those up on your calendar. So you know when things are going to go out, you know what your deadlines are, you know what you're going to work on, and you can get that stuff done. And then one of the things, a little tip for you, an additional tip, is that I love to look for opportunities to connect the dots. So utilizing businesses, products, and services that are within your geographic farm. So especially if for you, your geographic farm is one of the pillars of your business and one of the areas that you're going to focus your marketing plan, try to connect the dots there by using businesses that are in your geographic farm. Or maybe if you are doing giveaways, pop buys, drawing giveaways, some of the things that you give away come from local businesses in your community or in your geographic farm. So I love to talk to, really kind of connect the dots in that way. And so that is a fun thing to do as well. Okay, so hopefully this was not too overwhelming for you and you're really seeing the benefit in the ease with which you can actually put together your marketing plan. But if you want more and you don't want to DIY this yourself, consider joining Empower Coaching. Empower Coaching is my monthly membership program, and part of the program includes providing you with an entire annual marketing plan and budget that's broken down into easy to execute weekly plans. So everything I've told you to do here, we have already done it for you. We also include ready to print or post or customize graphics, postcard templates, pop-by tags, and so much more. We have monthly group coaching sessions. We do a monthly action hour to actually get your work done. We do a weekly quick lesson. We have a private mastermind community, and you have free access to every single one of these Empowering Women in Real Estate educational series courses for as long as you remain a member. And it's just $59 a month. There is no time commitment. There's no long-term contracts. You can cancel at any time, and there's no hard feelings, and I promise. You can go to empoweringwomeninrealestate.com and you can click on coaching if you'd like to learn more or if you'd like to join us. So that is our course. I hope that this was helpful to you. If you have just finished your first watch through, I want you to go back to the beginning, gather your materials, and then pause as we go through each slide so that you can actually knock these steps out and get this done. And before you know it, you're going to have a beautiful marketing plan, which is going to lead you to so much more business success this year. Stay well. Bye.